Hello and welcome back to Suspended Animation. I'm your host, Dennis Betholkas, and it's time for a new show, Invincible, Season 1, Episodes 1, 2, and 3. Actually, the first episode's titled It's About Time. Episode 2 is Here Goes Nothing. And Episode 3 is Who You Callin' Ugly. Welcome, everybody. Before I get started, let me take care of some business, and then we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. Basically, what YouTube does, takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below. Also, if you want to know when I'm be on live again next, you hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it out every week. Also, I have the links to all my social media, so Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. No tier saver on the Patreon. Waiting until I hit 1,000 subscribers, and I'm very, very close. And once that happens, then I'll set up some tiers. There'll be stuff that'll be available for, people that give me money and all that kind of stuff. I also have the links to this YouTube channel, my Facebook page, and for those of you who still have Facebook, a Facebook group page where you guys can post stuff and chat amongst yourselves. All right. So a little bit of background on Invincible before I do the spoilers portion of it. This is actually a comic Image. It actually still is a comic, Image Comics, created by Robert Kirkman of Walking Dead fame. And he's the one who actually wrote, I believe, the first couple episodes here. And it's got a lot of Walking Dead alumni voicing this animated series. They are working on a live action movie of this as well. But the first thing here is that Amazon Prime decided to do an animated series on this. So yeah, it's kind of exciting. It's a long running comic, and it's hard to describe. It's not the way the comic has been set up is it plays out in real time. So it's not suspended like Spider-Man or, the Marvel comics or DC comics where no one ages. This actually, you see people going through life essentially. And that's what's kind of unique about this comic is that you have people going through life stuff, but it involves superheroes. So that's what was kind of unique about this comic. And kind of what is going to be unique about this series. So, with that said, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episodes. If you have not seen them, go and watch them. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. There we go. So, you have been warned. All right. Yes, you have. All right. Yes, Walking Dead does do that as well. Thanks, Raymond. Yes, they do. They kind of skipped some years though too in Walking Dead, so they went ahead a couple of years and things like that. Same thing with the TV show. They're doing the same thing, but this was fairly interesting. So the best way I can describe this is the boys' level of violence without the crassness of the boys, if you will. It's kind of like DC meets the boys is really what it comes down to. And which is kind of a weird combination when you think about it. But it works. It really does work. There's swearing, yes. But there's gore, violence, that kind of stuff. It doesn't shy away from the real world violence of superheroes. Like, if you're running at super speed and you run through somebody, they explode. Yes, that is something that happens. And there's some consequences for actions, that kind of thing. And that's kind of where this series lies if you're going to be looking at this. If you haven't looked at it, and you're still in my spoiler section anyway, but still. Episode 1, we kind of get to meet Mark Grayson. We get to meet the Grayson family. So Nolan Grayson, who is Omniman, Mark Grayson, who is his son, and Debbie Grayson, who is the wife, and she is human. So Nolan Grayson is a superhero, Omni-Man, like I said. He is a Viltrum, or Viltrumite, as they call themselves. And they're kind of waiting for Mark powers to kick in. Usually they kick in, after puberty and that. And he's a teenager, so he's waiting for his powers. And of course, they finally do come in, and of course, Dad needs to teach him. And Dad's kind of standoffish. At first, he was kind of like, hey, have you gotten your powers yet? Have you gotten your powers yet? And then when he finally does, his dad's kind of like, yeah, you got your powers? That's great. Are you sure you got your powers? And it's kind of he takes this weird turn all of a sudden. We're trying to figure out what the fuck it is. And Dad also works with, Omni-Man works with the Guardians of the Globe, who it's kind of like the Justice League. So you have Darkwing, which of course the Batman analog. You have Martian Man, of course Martian Manhunter, War Woman, who is Wonder Woman, things like that, of course. And we see them at the very beginning take down the Marauder Twins, who are clones, or one of them's a clone, one of them's the original. We don't know who. And they're trying to kill the president. And of course, the Guardians of the Globe take them down. Now, if you haven't seen any of the episodes, the first time you're going to watch this first episode, the first 2 minutes is pretty boring. It's two security guards talking about life and whatnot, and you're gonna ask yourself, what the fuck did Dennis get me into? This is boring as fuck. Wait for it. It actually gets better after that 2 minutes. So yeah. Raymond says, I wasn't sure if his powers are diminished because of his half human DNA. Yeah. It's not. But yeah, so that first couple of minutes opening is, you're like, what the fuck? And then that's when all hell breaks loose. And yeah, that's kind of what you want to stay for. So like I said, Mark gets his powers in this first episode. He goes out to try and fight crime. His dad teaches him a little bit, the ropes, but he also wants to get out there and fight crime like his dad. And so he dons a getup and haphazardly stops a robbery, but does a lot more damage than pretty much what it's worth. And his dad tells him, he goes, you created a lot of damage you didn't need to do. That's why you need training, is what he tells him. And that ridiculous getup that you're wearing, we need to get you something else. So he brings him over to Art, who is voiced by Mark Hamill, by the way. And he's a costumer who is going to deck him out in something there, but we need to get a name first, of course. And word 789 says, I can't lie, the show was all right. Yeah, it is. So the first episode ends and we get credits, and then after the credits we see is it Red Rush is his name? I always forget what his name is. He's the Flash analog, and I can never remember what the fuck his name is. Yes, Red Rush. There we go. So Red Rush is with his girlfriend and or his wife, and his alarm goes off, and you see all these different heroes. Their alarms are going off, and they go and run to the Guardians of the Globe headquarters. And they're like, who pushed the button? Did you push the button? No, we didn't push the button. Omni-Man shows up, and they're like, hey, Nolan, did you push the button? And Nolan basically starts killing everybody. He starts killing all the Guardians of the Globe. And they're fighting back, and they're trying to. And I mean, they're doing some damage to him, but he is just kicking people's ass. And by the end of it, he's down and out for the count, but he's already killed everybody. He's ripped off the Immortal's head. He's squished Red Rush's head. War Woman, he's just punched a hole through. I mean, just all kinds of shit. And it's gory as all hell. And that's where we leave off with that first episode. Exactly, Raymond. That first episode, the end is the biggest, oh my fucking God, what did I walk into kind of thing. And yeah, they more than got their asses beat, word 789. They got slaughtered. And I'm starting to wonder, because honestly, the comics, I only read the first 3 comics when they first came out years ago, and I never kept up with it. I'm wondering if by his son getting his powers, that now he turns evil, that Omni-Man now turns evil, because he explains to his son, we see this flashback of when his son was little, and he finally says, hey, I'm different. We're different. We're from Viltrum. We get powers. We're we actually have these powers and we leave our world to go and protect underdeveloped worlds. And I'm wondering if that's the case of this is where he's training his son in order to fight him. Because we're going to see in a later episode what Omni-Man can actually do. Brax says, I disagree. I like the weekly release because we get more reviews and reactions of it compared to the binge model where it's forgotten. I agree with you. Brax. I love the weekly episode release. That's why I'm dropping all 3 episodes here in one review instead of doing them separately, because it was kind of hard to break them apart. They all play. The first 3 episodes play well together, but you can actually see the divisions between them. And I totally agree with you, Brax, that I love having them separated out, and I love the weekly release. You get a chance to digest this. And by the way, word 789, Amazon learned that from the boys when they did the weekly release that everyone bitched and moaned about it, but their ratings went through the fucking roof by doing a weekly release, and they finally overtook Netflix for the first time with the boys. So that's the reason why you do a weekly release, is it's longevity. It's not a binge it and forget about it kind of thing, which is what most people want. They, basically people start thinking about it, and it takes place over a month, 2 months, something like that. Because you have 8 episodes that are coming out for this season. And we've already had 3 episodes. Of course, we have 5 more episodes left and 5 more weeks, which I think is great. Raymond says, I just got a boys vibe where Omni has a misplaced sense of justice to obtain long-lasting peace. There's that too, Raymond, but I kind of think it has to do with biology, with the Viltrum's biology. And I think something kind of snaps over in him, and they become evil once they become parents, and their sibling, their offspring has taken control. Word 789 says, I'm guessing Omni-Man is like the Saiyan in Dragon Ball Z sent to planets to take over. I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out. So that's where we kind of leave off on episode 1. And then episode 2, Here Goes Nothing. We have, we get introduced to the Global Defense Agency and Cecil, who of course is voiced by the great Walter Goggins, and Donald. So Cecil and Donald. Cecil runs, of course, the Global Defense Agency. They work with superheroes. They work with the Guardians of the Globe, and they're investigating the murders. They actually are the first people on scene. They are trying to triage everything. They have the best technology available to try and keep these heroes alive, even though the Immortal has his head ripped off, and they're trying to keep him alive, which is kind of weird at the same time. It was a really weird one. Yeah. And of course, who comes into this? But we get another character, Damien Darkblood, who is a demon from hell, who's a detective, and voiced by the great Clancy Brown. And he's investigating this, and he's like, something's wrong here, and I can't exactly tell what it is. And so what Damien Darkblood's thing is he investigates things on Earth, and he does this in order to stay out of hell. So for every case that he solves, he gets, I think, a year off of his sentence in hell is what's going on. So yeah, that was actually pretty neat. And we also get to meet the teen team, is what they're called. Of course, the 4th favorite team of superheroes in the world. They're not like the Fatal Five, or excuse me, Fight Force 5, or Fight Force, excuse me, who of course got their asses kicked to them by the lizards. And it's made up of Adam Eve, Rexplode, Duplicate, and a robot. And of course, Mark meets up with them when a alien invasion happens, and these aliens just come through a rift and start killing people. And Mark is not prepared whatsoever. It's his first fight, and he gets his ass handed to him. He's trying to save this old woman who is just in tatters, pretty much, as he's hiding in a pit when the teen team comes up and of course, helps out and tells him take the woman to the hospital. So, of course, he ends up. The only reason why the aliens stop is because they start aging and they have to go back through the rift. Otherwise, they're going to die. So, yeah, it was fairly interesting what we had going on there. Um, we get to see a little bit of what his dad's life is like because he needs to take over at this point. And his dad wakes up, of course, from the coma that he's in. He's actually in the hospital at the GDA. And Omni-Man wakes up there, and they basically tell him, hey, the guy from space is coming back again. We need to go back up there. And Omni-Man's like, okay, I can do it. And they're like, no, you just got out of bed, motherfucker. And Mark's like, I'll do it. I'll go. So he goes out into space to go and fight this alien guy, gets kicked down a bit, goes back up again, and finally he's fighting this guy. And they're talking telepathically at this point. It's a weird scene. I'll give you that. It is Seth Rogen who's voicing the alien. And we find out that he is there from the coalition of planets to basically do an evaluation to see if they have heroes enough that can protect the planet from, larger threats. And he's Alan the alien, by the way. But he's made a mistake. He's gone to the wrong planet. He thought he was at Uroth, not Earth. And he's like, oops, I'm in big trouble. Got to leave. That was actually, Raymond says that seemed like a Looney Tune, but I actually kind of liked it. It was funny. And it was one of those kind of weird learning the superhero ropes moment, if you will. And there's a few things like that, which I kind of liked. And we keep having the aliens coming back through the rift. And we find out that they actually, the dimension that they come from, they are actually, their time is faster than ours. That's the reason why they started aging so rapidly. And then they have technology to basically stop their cellular aging. So they come back twice more. The second time, they get pushed back through by Mark. Mark gets pissed off, basically hits them with a big wave of energy. They go back through the rift. And then when they come back the third time, the leader, who's voiced, by the way, by Damien Hanju, is dressed in like a super suit kind of thing. And for them, it's been decades. So they're learning how to fight back and also keep the aging at bay and all that kind of stuff. And their technology advances. And Mark's getting his ass handed to him, as well as the team as well. And who shows up but Omni-Man? Omni-Man's back. He's looking good. And he basically beats the fuck out of them, sends them back through the rift, and then destroys their fucking planet, essentially. He kills them all. Not before they open up a rift to send him back to Earth. And then he kills the last of them by dropping he basically drops a mountain on them. So you can see the extent of Omni-Man's powers in that, where he just goes through and obliterates an entire continent in seconds. He goes through and just, kills everybody. And it's pretty brutal. It is really damn brutal. And all of this too, we're seeing Mark having to deal with school as well. So he's dealing with high school. He's dealing with girls as well. There's a girl, Amber, who likes him, who he stood up for in the very first episode. And there was a bully that was kind of bothering her. And basically, Mark stood up to him and just basically took the punches, is what it was. And this bully, he gets blackmailed by Amber into having the bully give Mark, her number, which I thought was kind of funny. And this leads, of course, to episode 3, which is a study date between Amber and Mark. We also get the funeral of the Guardians of the Globe, because now it's been released worldwide that they are actually dead. Damien Darkblood is still, on the trail, and he actually brings up to Cecil that no one else was there other than the Guardians and Omni-Man. Omni-Man was not part of the Guardians, by the way. He never joined up. And he might be the prime suspect in all of this. And Cecil's pretty pissed off. Really, he is. He's like, fuck you, get the hell out of here, kind of thing. But he tells Donald to put a security detail on the Graysons. So, yeah. So we get a little bit of soap opera. So all superhero shows are soap opera-ish. There's no way around it. When you're telling stories, it is a soap opera. It really is. Raymond says the study date reminded me of Lana and Clark from Smallville. Yeah, pretty much. You end up having Cecil recruiting Robot from the teen team to rebuild the Guardians of the Globe. And he basically says you could do whatever you want. He goes, you're only going to answer to me. That's it. And so we do tryouts, of course, and we have a new team of Guardians that gets chosen. And before all this happens, Adam Eve is actually dating Rexplode, and she finds out that he's having an affair with Duplicate. And yeah, it's kind of bad. So they end up on the same team for the Guardians, all three of them. And yeah, Adam Eve does not want to have anything to do with them at this point. So yeah. So at the very end there, she actually, Eve is going to go over to Mark and because they were chumming around and whatnot. And I think she was going to ask him out, or she was interested in him, but sees through his window that he and Amber are making out. And yeah, she kind of flies away at that point. In the meantime, the Marauder twins, who are in jail, get a little bit of help in getting released from jail. And one of them dies in the process, of course, too. And we see that Robot and Cecil were the people that helped them getting out of jail. And the reason why they do this is because they're trying to get the team ready for the deep end, so to speak. Yeah. And finally, right after the credits, we get a little Damien Darkblood action where he comes back and he visits Debbie and questions her about what was going on with Nolan, what happened with him, and does it seem strange? And basically, he plants a seed of doubt in her mind that Nolan is not telling her everything, because he says he can't remember who killed the Guardians, that he was attacked from behind and got knocked out. And even Cecil was like, I've never seen you get knocked out before. That fucker must have been really, really strong if that was the case. And so, yeah, planting that seed of doubt in her mind. And she doesn't tell Nolan when Nolan comes down to, he's like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, nothing, just getting ready for bed, coming upstairs. And he notices that everything is cold. So Damien Darkblood, when he shows up, like most demons or ghosts, you get a cold sensation. So he sees it and he knows what it is. And he's kind of pissed because she didn't tell him the truth. And that's kind of where we leave off on the episodes, which is really kind of good. Brax says, makes me think Omni-Man allowed himself to get hurt by the Guardians of the Globe as part of the cover story as a victim, considering how easily Flaxons were wiped out. Possibly. That's a good theory. Word 789 says, I've never understood that. If Omni-Man was never part of the Guardians, why does he always hang out with them? I don't think he always hangs out with them. I think he assists them, and then they gave him access to the cave, essentially, to the Guardians' cave. That's the reason why he's there. Yeah. And there's teams like that. I mean, for a while there, even Batman wasn't part of the Justice League, even though he's considered a founding member. Yeah. Kind of a weird thing. Raymond K. Hessel says the calamari scene with the X-Files dude was funny too. Calamari scene with the X-Files. Oh, you mean the fish guy? Yeah. So all in all, this is a really good series starting off with, and I'm really enjoying it. Love the voice work. The animation's great. The storyline's fantastic. I mean, we're getting some good stuff going on here, and I'll be able to actually do a proper breakdown on these. So I'm going to be doing these on Sunday because Falcon and Winter Soldier, of course, is on Friday. and I'm not going to double up on Fridays just because that's a work day for me. So I might do it on Saturday. I don't know yet. I'm still debating on that. But right now it's on Sundays. At least Sundays will probably be a double hitter come the April 11th because that's when the Nevers comes out on HBO Max, and I'll be covering that as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out. I forgot the Nevers was coming out so soon. But yeah. But there's a shitload of Walking Dead alumni in this. I mean, you have Steve Yen, of course, who is playing Mark. Sonequa Green was Green Ghost. Michael Cudlitz was in there. He was one of the voices for one of the characters too. Also, Lenny. He was in there as well. I'm actually looking at the list right now. Lenny James was Darkwing. So there we go. Lenny James was Darkwing. Sonequa Martin Green, like I said, was Green Ghost. Michael Kuditz was Red Rush. Chad Coleman, who's also been on The Walking Dead, is Martian Man. So yeah, it goes on and on. I mean, there's a shit ton of people in this thing that are Ross Marquand was Aquarius. So he was also in that as well. Yeah, and of course it makes sense considering that Robert Kirkman is the guy who created The Walking Dead, and yeah, Lenny James, thank you. Raymond says, was it me or did Yen's voice acting remind me of David Faustino? I think he was trying to go young with it, Raymond, and kind of uncertain, and I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think that's what's going on with that. So maybe that's why it was coming off a little weird sounding, kind of like my camera that's going yellow and white. And I did try and fuck with the white balance earlier, and it's just being horrible with me. Brax says Monster Girl kicking Rex's butt for calling her a little girl was amazing. I feel, yeah, Monster Girl. I mean, that's fucked up. Your powers. So every time she uses her powers, she gets younger. And she's actually 28 years old, but she looks like she's 12. And yeah, and at one point, Robot's saying, yeah, we're going to be doing training 3 times a day. And she goes, no, we're not. She goes, I'm not, because unless you want to be changing my diapers, it's not going to happen. Word 789 says, why hire Monster Girl when she would literally turn into a fetus after a few fights? Well, they didn't know that, Word 789, until she made the team. And then when Robot said, you know what, the training schedule was going to be like, and she confronted him and said, no, I'm not going to be doing that. That's when he found out her limitations. So yeah, I think she should be off the team myself, just because of her own self-preservation at that point. I agree with you. Yeah, but also I liked Jason Mantzoulis is his name. Is that right? The guy who played Rexplode, who was voicing Rexplode, because he's just a dick. His voice he's normally kind of a dick anyway. Jason, yeah, Mantzoukas. There we go. It's a Greek name, kind of like mine. You know, the whole thing. You never can really pronounce those things unless you read them. And he's kind of a dick anyway, the way he does his voice, and it's perfect for Rexplode, considering that Rexplode is just this whiny dick of a bitch. Yeah. Raymond says, oh yeah, and she goes into how she can't have a relationship because she becomes a little girl when yeah, that whole thing about that she can't attract a suitable partner, as she says, because all the ones that are interested are perverts. Yeah. It's just, I mean, that's just fucked up. It really is, you know. Getting the downside of superherodom, if you will. And also the whole thing with Mark having a study date, but having to go to Mount Rushmore to go and fight the Seismic, Dr. Seismic. And he has to leave in the middle of the study date in order to do it, but Amber's still there about an hour later when he comes back, and he's going to rush in with his costume, and his dad's downstairs in his own costume going, you may want to change before you go into the room if you want to keep your secret identity. Just up to you. It's this whole balance thing, which I thought was kind of funny. Brax says, really enjoyed this, and I only watched it because you mentioned it, Dennis. So thanks. Now I have another great show. Hey, you're welcome, Brax. Yeah, this is one of those shows I knew was going to be really good. It's a long running comic. Like I said, long running. It's about 20 years old, this comic. And yeah, it's one of those comics. If you're not going to run that long unless you actually have something good going on. So yeah, I knew we had some and also all the voice actors too. You don't have that many voice actors of quality, that many quality actors doing this unless there's a good script to it as well. And also I really loved in the first episode the talk when Nolan is giving young Mark the talk about pretty soon you're going to hit puberty, and with that you're going to get hair in strange places, and your voice is going to crack and change, and you're going to get powers too. And I was just fucking laughing because it was the talk, but it was also with superpowers and puberty, and it was done by J.K. Simmons. And that was just making me fucking laugh. That was probably my favorite thing. I probably replayed it a couple of times just because it made me laugh so hard. It really did. And it was delivered well though, too. It was actually well done. It was a well done line delivery, but at the same time, it was just fucking funny. It really was. Raymond says, oh yeah, and they have a great thing where one-liners are hard to pull off. Yeah. Word 79 says also he gets a beard because time moves fast. Yeah, that whole thing with him going into the other dimension, fucking their shit up and leaving, but he comes back with a beard and he's like, yeah, I need a shower. And he really doesn't tell them that he just basically committed genocide, that he killed an entire world. That's literally what he did. He just went in and killed an entire world. And he just comes back and like, yeah, I want to shower. I mean, come on. After the funeral, the first thing he says when they get home was like, hey, who wants pizza? I feel like pizza. I can fly to Naples and be back before the cheese drops bubbling on the pizza. And Debbie's like, no, let the delivery guy do it. This is neither the time nor the place, kind of thing. And yeah, he's kind of showing he's getting more and more disconnected to what's right and what's wrong is what we're getting shown there. So yeah, I think that's what's happening is we're seeing the birth of a supervillain is what we're seeing. But good episode, good animation. Yes, every episode is going to be about an hour long, about 47 to 50 minutes long is what we're getting. I'm liking that it's dropping every week. I don't think I could handle it if it just dropped all at once. As it is, doing the 3 episodes here just in one big kind of overview review. I know it's kind of like a recap review is what I'm doing here, but that's kind of how I work. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that's how I roll. Is I need to do a little recap as I'm going through for the review of it as well, and it helps me kind of suss things out in my mind. Yeah, I actually just before I came on, I went through the 3 episodes fairly quickly and just to get down some of my notes here. So yeah, that's what I was doing. I have my little book of notes that I've been taking notes on. So just in case you're wondering what I do. And I keep it out of view. It's just below my camera. Excuse me. Raymond says, did this show come out as a reaction to Superman and Lois? No. This was planned. You can't do animation shows. It's easier to do a live action show than it is to do an animation series. So the animation series was announced 2019, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, Superman and Lois wasn't announced until last year. So this was already in the works long before Superman and Lois was coming out. Yeah. And yeah, Raymond, I know there's similar themes, but it's not completely similar. There's not this dynamic of getting your kid ready to possibly fight you because you're going to turn evil, because that's what your race does, which I'm thinking that's where we're going with this. If I'm wrong, I don't know, but normally I'm not with Kirkman. I'm pretty much, on the same mind wavelength of him, brain wavelength. There we go, as Kirkman on this. And mind you, I haven't read the comics, so I haven't gone ahead. I've only read the first 3 comics. I actually owned the first 3 comics a long, long time ago. There was issue number 0, then there was issue 1 and issue number 2. I sold all 3 of them for a hefty sum of money, like a couple of years after they came out. And they're even worth more now. I think they're worth, I don't even know what they're worth now. I know they're worth a couple of hundred at least. So there we go. So what else we got going on this week? Tomorrow is going to be a new episode of Is It Worth My Time? And this time around, it's the Netflix series The Irregulars is what I'm doing. And it's not about constipation. Wednesday, I'm going to be off. Thursday is going to be the season finale of Resident Alien. Friday will be a new episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Saturday will be Saturday Morning Blast Off, or take the genre news of the weekend and your genre stuff you guys want to talk about when we talk about it. And then Sunday will be a new episode of Invincible. There we go, episode 4 of Invincible. And then Monday, of course, I'll be off. And then we roll back around Tuesday with Is It Worth My Time? And I'll find out what that is then. Raymond says, I'm not kissing ass here, but you would make a good writer. Thanks, Raymond. Yeah, if I had the time and kind of the money to do it, because I think that's what holds me back is time. I have ideas that I have written down in my little book. So I have this is actually my schedule book for the podcast here. It's a Jack Daniels book, by the way. So yeah, you can see that there. And I also have some ideas in here for different stories. But thank you. Yes, I've read a lot of stuff, so I try and find stuff to me that I haven't seen the same kind of themes before, or it'll have a familiar theme that takes it in a different area. That's the reason why I'm covering the Irregulars tomorrow. It's actually about, and I'll just say this in the synopsis, the brief synopsis for that, to prepare you for tomorrow. It's Sherlock Holmes, but with paranormal stuff. That's all. And it's not even Sherlock Holmes. He's not the main story. It's the Irregulars. In the book, he had a group of kids that he would pay money in order to do stuff for him and all that, as part of his investigations. That's what it's about. Is the kids. So there you go. And it's fairly interesting. So I'll leave it at that for you guys. And yeah, sorry I couldn't make it yesterday to do this review. I was originally going to do this on Sunday, yesterday, but I just had too much shit that I was trying to take care of, on the weekend. That's when I do all my stuff that I need to take care of, and I was running out of time. It was really what it was. And also, I got my second shot on Saturday, and I was feeling kind of running down a bit. My arm hurts, but I'm doing good. And the stuffiness is normally what I have anyway, not because of the shot. I forgot to actually irrigate with some saline before I came on. That's usually what I end up doing, so I don't sound so stuffed up. Yeah. Will you be covering Godzilla versus King Kong? I will. Actually, that is what. Thank you, Raymond. That you just jogged my memory. I'll be covering Godzilla versus King Kong on Is It Worth My Time? Not tomorrow, of course, but next week, the week after. So that'll be April. Let me see. April 6th is what that'll be. April 6th, I'll be covering that. That way, everyone will get a chance to watch it, and then we'll go over it. I know there's already stuff out there, and honestly, I swear to God, they are so intent on spoiling that movie. They keep showing clips of stuff, which they need to kind of back off a little bit because they're just kind of shooting themselves in the foot. They really are. By the toys have given away the villain. Now they have a spot on the villain, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I could go on, but they really kind of hurt themselves. I know everyone's been chomping at the bit to see this movie, and I am too. I love a good kaiju movie, and especially when it's Gojira and King Kong. Gojira. I always love when they say that. It's just the original Japanese pronunciation of it, which I murder, of course, is great. Godzilla just doesn't have the same ring to it. Unless you're saying the old 80s cartoon song, Godzilla, and Godzuki. Anyway. Thank you to everybody joining me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. Basically, YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library, I should say. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button. And also, if you can, hit that like button and the share button as well. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on next, you can hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it out every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media, so Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. No tier set on the Patreon, but again, I'm waiting till I hit 1,000 subs, which I'm very close. We're almost there. And also, I have the links to this YouTube channel, my Facebook page, and a Facebook group page where you guys can post stuff and chat amongst yourselves. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to let you guys go for the night. I look forward to this next week or on Friday here when the new episode comes out, because this is actually a pretty damn good series. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow for Is It Worth My Time? Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up meeting an alien called Alan, and he's there to actually find out if your planet is still worthy enough to join the League of the Coalition of Planets. But he might be at the wrong planet too, so kind of a bad thing too. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, be well, take care, wear those masks, and if you can, get those appointments and get those shots. It's not that bad, really. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your night.